and the largest public works project in California history. It wasn't until much later that I was able to see, along with the rest of the world, the sheer immensity of his vision for celebrating the infrastructure of the Bay Area. The vision was an unprecedented light art installation consisting of 25,000 LEDs stretching nearly 2 miles attached to the suspension cables of the iconic west span of the Bay Bridge. The project was called the Bay Lights, and it remains one of the most celebrated art projects of its kind, lighting up the night sky each and every day and inspiring our community to think differently about the built environment and our complicated relationship with it as citizens of this great city. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder of Illuminate the Arts, Ben Davis.
So let me just take you back to the moment of conception for the Bay Lights. You know, it's 2010, and I'm thinking about infrastructure as I often do. I love infrastructure, as many people in this room probably do, and I'm thinking about the West Span, how when it opened in 1936, there were 4 days of regional celebrations, and then 6 months later, the Golden Gate Bridge opened, and the world's attention drifted to the north. And I wanted to think, is there some way to let this bridge shine in the region's consciousness again? And it hit me. It didn't have to be just a bridge. It could be a canvas of light. And though the idea scared me on one level, I could feel the sort of resonant love and energy in the idea, and I decided to walk it out into the world. And you know, the world and the universe sometimes takes care of it when you take on bold ideas. And I was very fortunate to meet the artist Leo Villarreal, almost by a chance encounter. Leo's an amazing artist working with LEDs, and after 3 months of our conversations rolling forward, talking about the metaphorical powers of the bridge, the elegant white nature of the new east span that was going to be coming online soon, Leo submitted this rendering, this 60 seconds, which really changed everything. As I had been talking to folks about this project, wiggling my fingers in the air, people sort of said, well, that sounds nice, and they wished me luck. But when they could see this 60 seconds, the ability to visualize an idea and visualize it beautifully, they stopped saying, nice idea, and they said, wow, how can I help you make this happen? So the power to visualize an idea and show it to people is incredibly important, really reinforced. But it's one thing to visualize it. It's another thing to figure out how to design it. We were very fortunate working with Parsons Brinckerhoff to start from 1936 blueprints, literally folded out across the table as built, and go through the process of, instead of taking a lot of pixels and putting them in a small space, taking those pixels and spreading them out over 1.8 miles, 500 feet in the air, 250 feet above water, another 250 feet above traffic, and just cracking the code on how you actually do this and install it without disrupting traffic and doing it in a way that is safe. 25,000 individually controllable, white-only, energy-efficient LEDs strung to the cables of the Bay Bridge, 700 router boxes and connection points and so forth. Really an amazing feat of a technical team coming together to solve a problem no one had ever envisioned before. So really beautiful. This project also had its maker moment. This is a special slide just for this crowd. At one point, there was a really intense concern about how do we attach these strands of LEDs to the cables without pinching the cables, and the project almost stopped because everyone was worried about liability. Jean Pablo Villamil and Timothy Child sat down and did some rapid prototyping and actually designed a clip, of which we ultimately made 50,000 of them, which safely held this piece onto the bridge and let this project move forward, thanks to low-cost rapid prototyping of the solution. So there you go, maker community. You made your mark on this project for sure. But the reality of the lights have just been spectacular. You know, we all had high hopes for what they might mean. Who here has experienced the lights before? Fantastic. For those of you who haven't, I suggest you do it over the next couple of days. I hate to announce this, but on March 5th, the current 2-year run of the Bay Lights will go dark. This installation was permitted as a 2-year installation, and we've enjoyed that run. And it's time for it to come down so that, well, actually, the good news is that it's going to come back. It's going to come back in 11 months. They'll come down, these lights now. The Caltrans will get up there and maintain the bridge to a new higher standard, and we'll actually reinstall a more robust set of LEDs that have been re-engineered to survive the harsh conditions of the San Francisco Bay, one of the most perverse environments in which you can put electronics And the entire work will be coming back in conjunction with Super Bowl 50. But it is your last few nights here to see this current configuration of it. So I highly encourage you to get out there. Even if you have seen it before, take one more long drink before it goes away. And you can come out to the waterfront in San Francisco if you're in town on March 5th. At around 8 o'clock behind Water Bar, we'll have a celebration. And then actually, even more touching and more beautiful for those who are early risers or who have kids who want to wake up, early on Friday morning on March 6th, the San Francisco String Quartet from the Symphony will be playing as the sun rises and the bay lights dim for the last time under this current configuration. Sort of a beautiful civic moment and celebration of infrastructure. But that brings me to the next project. You know, what is it? This slideshow is moving a little faster than I know that it is, so I'm going to have to catch up. This project you're seeing behind me is called Light Rail. It takes 2.1 miles of light and puts it above your head, what's happening beneath your feet on Market Street. So literally this whoosh of light will come over your head, pause at Montgomery Street, and keep moving, be textured with the BART and the Muni trains, using light and energy and movement to seamlessly connect this street, which has suffered from so much separation over the years. Beautiful that it celebrates mass transit, but even more importantly, really creating a sense of connectivity and community. Now that project was just a dream that a couple of young artists brought to me about a month before the Bay Lights went live, but I realized there would be energy amassing along the Embarcadero, and I wanted to find a way to bring it up Market Street, and the idea really resonated with me. There's no doubt that this idea wouldn't be possible at all. There wouldn't be a conversation to be had within the city if the Bay Lights were not shining of an example of what's possible. But I think the Bay Lights created almost not just a sense of possibility, maybe even a little bureaucratic envy. People thought, well, if Caltrans can do that, certainly the city of San Francisco can come together and make it happen too. And I'm delighted to report that in the end of last year, 2014, on December 17th, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors unanimously approved a major encroachment permit that had to get signed off by the Department of Public Works, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, the Metropolitan Transportation Agency, San Francisco Planning, Historic Preservation Commission, Arts Commission, and the Fire Department, all coming together to approve a major encroachment permit on Market Street to let this project move forward. A really beautiful, amazing moment. But one of the things that happens when you start to delve into these projects is you learn more and more about the history of the street and some of the history and the shortcomings of the infrastructure. Again, Parsons Brinkerhoff was the designer of record on the Bay Lights. They leaned into the challenge of helping us take this vision into a solution. They did an amazing job, a very clean design, as you can see here. This is a rendering that they've created so we can understand how the project will work and what it looks like. But you'll see as we start to get into this, there's these old historic Path of Gold lights. Now, the city of San Francisco views these with the same historic integrity, landmark status that they do City Hall. And when you go to touch those Path of Gold lights, you have to be really clever and creative and cautious. So we knew we were coming up against the Historic Preservation Commission, and we wanted to get prepared. So we used some of the tools of the maker community. Can we go back one? Let's see. Does that work on this project? First thing we did, we created, this should be moving, but we created a 3D model of the Path of Gold lights themselves, something that could be physically touched at scale by the commissioners. We also created an Oculus Rift rendering, one second, so that they could experience sort of the virtual reality. And this was the result. I think we're not going to get sound, however.
The Bay Area is inching closer to a first-of-its-kind light show, something that's never been tried anywhere else in the world, ever.
The video is slick, but the folks behind Light Rail promise the real thing will be even better.
From one market all the way to Van Ness reflects above your head what's happening beneath your feet with the transit system.
And this afternoon, the city's Architectural Review Committee examined models and even a virtual reality simulation to make sure that hardware wouldn't alter them too severely.
So we got past the Historic Preservation Commission, I think in part to the new tools. I think those tools hadn't been brought into that environment before, and it really helped them understand what they were looking at, and also, frankly, get excited about it. But then we got another little dose of reality. We realized that Market Street has a lot of uses, including public safety. This is an example of a fire at the Hotel Renoir that required the hook and ladder trucks to be able to raise their ladders, and we realized we had not factored that into our decision-making process, so the fire department let us know about that. We apologized profusely, and we went and met with them. And when we met with them, we found out something really key. The only time they really need to bring those ladders up the street is when the buildings are over 70 or under 75 feet. So using a cloud point scan that was produced in existing and working with Parsons again, in the course of 24 hours, we were able to map out on Market Street every location where a building was under 75 feet, clearly identify it, and work with the fire department to build a breakaway system where in every instance they could actually drop that art installation on a moment's notice. And it's really amazing to see how technology can come together to prove that public safety and public art can coexist without compromise, without sacrificing public safety, without sacrificing property, or the safety of the firefighters. Really a beautiful moment for technology and a rapid form of solutioning with a great group of people coming together in a mix of technologies. But Market Street's interesting. You got me, the more you look into Market Street, the more you understand there's a very beautiful history there. It's a major thoroughfare, and its energy has always been there, although it's been suppressed for a very long time. This is Market Street from the 1950s. And this is Market Street for the most part today. And I'm going to put out a theory that I think is neither provable or disprovable, but just hear me out. When they put the BART system in the 1960s, and they ripped up all of Market Street, and when they put it back down, they put in the most current technology for the lighting into those old path of gold fixtures, high-pressure sodium lights. Sometimes I call it's that orangey crime light, the one hand on your wallet light that, takes all the reds out of people's faces and makes everything look sort of unsafe and unflattering. And so for Market Street, that light has been there for a half a century. We thought, well, how about if we retrofit those path of gold lights with new LEDs, saving energy, and being able to recast a more flattering light on that street? Well, it turns out we not only thought that was a good idea, because the system was so degraded underneath Market Street, and there was such a stress on the power systems, we actually have to do that for this project to move forward. So we're in the process now of working with the city agencies to fund the first wave of this through public funds of the LED retrofit of Market Street, expediting the retrofit of those lights, creating a greener city, a safer city, and a more enjoyable city, letting Market Street become a place of lingering destination, not just hurried passage in the evenings. And then we'll lean into the challenge of actually bringing the private funds to bear that make the light rail project a possibility. But it's really beautiful to see public art spurring this sort of energetic response within cities, lots of cross-disciplinary and agency cooperation to make an inspiring vision a reality. I think a drone is flying by someplace. Do you guys hear that sound? Is that in my head? Let me let your mind for a second, though, unwind from the universe of infrastructure. In fact, step out completely from the notion of infrastructure to the place where there's not infrastructure. The 1.5 or so billion people who are living off the electricity grid and yet still living. We're working with a new project, actually being led by Vanessa In, who's here with us today, called Afterglow, working with artist Jim Denevan. Jim Denevan makes these amazing, beautiful landform installations. We're going to work with Jim and a solar lantern company to bring 25,000 solar lanterns into a massive illustration, landform illustration. Now, this is a real scale model that Jim created, 1/10 size of what the final version would be, about 2,500 to 3,000 lanterns in this illustration. He created in Pescadero, California. This is real. This is not a rendering. That's Jim standing in the center of it. What Afterglow would do is create one large-scale installation here in the States with those 25,000 lanterns, very gentle to the land. It would be up for a few days. We'd document it well, and people would share it, through social media and news outlets. And then we would break that installation down into three groups of lanterns. And those lanterns would go to places where light is needed most in the world, where there's existing relationships with trusted NGOs who understand the cultures and the communities, and we can respectfully scale in a way that we can scale and sustainably bring these lanterns out into the world and create immediate transformation in the lives of people. So we're looking at working in Mali, in Haiti, in Nepal this coming year, proving the power of art to not just wow us and inspire us, but to create genuine and immediate transformation in people's lives. Just let this play for a second. beautiful art project. You know, one art project on 4 different continents with 25,000 extremely important endings that actually themselves are a beginning, the start of a movement to bring light out and reach people in positive and sustainable ways. Can I just get a round of applause for that project, you guys? That is a beautiful, beautiful project. And it really, you know, takes me to that's the places where light will be with the light rail, the Afterglow project, rather. But just to the final big picture with Illuminate the Arts. You know, you see what we're doing with Illuminate the Arts is we're getting, through inspiring ideas, we're having large groups of people come together and do what we need to do to have these projects happen, which is to deconstruct and reconstruct the systems that stand in our way. The rules, the laws, the way that we do business currently. We need to find ways to deconstruct those and rapidly reconstruct those. We need to find ways to apply technology to places they haven't been applied in ways we hadn't imagined before. That's what's happening on the side of the Bay Bridge and what's happening on Market Street. And then we need to find ways to attract the resources to make those, to execute those projects. Now that's all well and good, I guess, in the name of beautiful public art and inspiring public art, but it's exactly the muscle that we need to exercise as a society as we take on the real challenges of humanity, you know, rising seas and climate change. And so I invite you. This is a group of people who've assembled to think about infrastructure, who are looking at bringing their talents to bear. You know, infrastructure is just another word for connection. It's something that binds us, something that unites us, something that brings us together in common purpose. As you apply yourself to that challenge, you know, think beyond the craft. Think to the highest calling of your own spirit. Think to the true consciousness of what you're doing and you're collaborating and committing yourself to. And let's be brilliant. Thank you so much.